the Commanders' 4-year anniversary was yesterday of the rebrand when they changed their name, they changed their uniforms, and they launched whatever this new chapter of the organization is. We took calls back when the phones were working yesterday and got a lot of feedback from people on how they feel comparative to 4 years ago to the day, yesterday, when the announcement was made. I was thinking about this last night. There are ways, though, where this ownership group deserves some credit and has done a really good job, I think, as best they can, of meeting in the middle with a new name and a new logo and a new brand and new colors and a lot of people that were annoyed. And they've kind of tweaked some things where they can. They're not going to change the name. So you can keep screaming at the wall and shaking your fist at the sea and being angry and yelling about that. It's just not happening. But if you want the uniforms to look like the old ones, it's happening, maybe slower than you'd like at a glacial pace, but it is happening. If you want a logo that isn't the Block W that wasn't ever part of this organization and looks nothing like what you remember, maybe they are trying to throw it back. They're slowly but surely doing this like marathon jog around the bend to try to get back to being able to maybe use the arrow in a way where no one can yell at them, because it's not just about Native Americans. They're making up like all of these backstories, like a WWE character on Roman javelins and all. They're trying. So you got to give them credit, I think, 4 years later for, all right, this is the hand we're dealt. This is where we ended. How do we now make this better? And they're spending a lot of money on this. I think they've got smart people on this, and it does seem to be working. The new uniforms they unveiled, the 91 version of the Gibbs stuff, was the most popular thing that happened last year. I think if they eventually get to an arrow on the helmet that's a throwback to the early 2000s 70th anniversary jerseys, that would be wildly popular compared to the Block W thing that they have now. So they're making moves. You got to give them some credit for that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the best way to do the analogy. Like, if everyone knows that the best thing to improve the value of a home is to do a total gut and a total, rebuild and redesign and everything else, but you're told you're not allowed to do that because of the HOA. Like, that's against the rules. So what can you do? Let's fix the lawn up. Let's do a couple floodlights. Let's do a couple nice columns on the outside. Really do the shutters and the windows. The point is, without doing the real thing, which is not on the table, because they can't. The million rules why. We know we've been over that. They're doing everything else they can to make the house look nice. I think that's the point. You got the new stadium coming. It's on the way. It's going to be awesome. The initial renderings, the artist stuff looks, yes, it looks correct. It makes you feel like it's a Washington thing. It's got some of the same bones as like that Minnesota stadium that we went to, some of the best stadiums in the sport. This architecture firm knows what they're about. That's on the way. You get a couple logo tweaks here and there. You get the correct 91 uniforms. You start doing everything you can, but that one big thing, to your point, it's the best you can do. It's no longer a 10 out of 10. Your ceiling is probably a 4.5,
right?
But you do whatever you can to get to that 4.5.
Yeah, said differently, you got a car. You're not allowed to get a new car. You're not trading that car in. But maybe you can get a paint job. You know what I mean? Maybe you can take out the seats that are in it and get new seats or whatever. You're just trying to put the lipstick on the parts that you can, right?
Yep.
And I think they're winning at doing that. What I'm interested in is, when do we see the 1991 Super Bowl era Joe Gibbs jerseys that they wore in 3 games, all in primetime this year, 2 of them in primetime, one's on Christmas Day? When do we see those as the uniforms? I think if it's up to the team, that would be immediate. They would, right now, this moment, fill out whatever paperwork is necessary to make those jerseys the permanent every game uniforms, white at home, burgundy on the road, and be done with it. It's up to the league still to get that done. And the last thing I'd heard when I'd reached out to somebody on this is they're hoping to do it more, and as much as they're allowed to is what they're going to try to push for. But it's going to take some time, it seems like. It might not be this year. Maybe it's not till 2027. But when they're allowed to, those are going to be their uniforms. That'll be the biggest win for this fan base since the rebrand of 2-2-22, when that's just the standard uniforms.
Yeah, and again, it's a lower ceiling than the thing that so many people want, and we understand that. But you take everything that you can get. What's realistic?
When you say that, though, what are you saying? Like the name?
Yeah, I mean and everybody keeps pining for it because it's basically you're doing everything but that. So it's like you can. I don't know, just on my palm, you can't have the palm, but you're filling out the fingernail polish on all the fingers to make it look nice. It's not the same thing, and it never will be, but it's the best you can get, right? So I give them credit for that, for understanding that and doing the most they possibly can. Because it'd be very easy to be very lazy about it, right? So, we went to the NFC title game. Let's sit in our laurels, and they weren't. They were active about this. Now, I lament the fact that we're stuck with the stupid name, Snyder's name, and it ruins a lot of it for me. Frankly, it is the black cloud that kind of follows over all this. But in terms of what they can control, this is a lot of positive steps, I would say.
Well, I bring up the logo as well. Did you see that the Commanders had this Mock Draft Monday graphic that they put out yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
So on their Mock Draft Monday, they do this each and every week. They basically just take a mock draft that's out there from a reputable source. So yesterday's was Daniel Jeremiah, and he is the lead draft expert for NFL Media, NFL.com, and Network. He had Washington taking my guy, Sonny Styles, by the way, which we could do a segment on if we wanted to. I love Sonny Styles, linebacker, Ohio State. He's pushed his way now into these draft conversations, into the top 10. I remember early in this process when Ohio State was still playing games, when we were talking about him, and it felt like he was going to go in the 14 to 25 range.
If you trade back, Sonny Styles.
And now it doesn't seem crazy. If you just want to take a guy who had 245 tackles, 9 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles in his career in college and had a PFF grade of 88.5 this past year, one of the best in the country, you could do that. But anyway, they post this graphic with this Daniel Jeremiah mock, and kind of every week they just kind of link to this and tell you about a prospect to get people familiar with some of these names. At the top of the graphic, though, instead of just the traditional block W, they've got the block W in this logo that is 2 spears kind of diagonal. In the middle of the 2 spears, you can't see this whole spear because there's like this circular. To me, it looks like the new stadium. How would you describe that? Like Roman, Greco-Roman, but it's like not columns, but it to me it looks like the top of like their new stadium, like you're looking down on.
Yeah, if you were looking top down of one of the Jefferson and the Lincoln Memorial, and you saw a column, and like it looks like the vertical view of a column, right, with all the different grooves in it, etc.
So you've got the diagonal spears with the grooves and this very DC looking, especially with the new stadium design that we've seen, circular emblem, and on either side of this thing are these 2 stars, which I always see that and think DC, like that's like the DC logo or whatever. But they got this posted on their social media. The team put this out. I had not seen that before. Has this been out this offseason in other ways?
I had never seen it.
What I find compelling is people right away are going, look at this. This is a new logo, and it's something. It's not nothing. But that's not something you just throw out there willy-nilly. Like, someone's got to be like, is it time to put that out there on this graphic? Are we doing that? Or are we still just using the traditional block W? Their logo on the actual Twitter avatar is still the normal side of the helmet W. So it's not like if they replace that, I would think, okay, this is a bigger deal. But it's right there at the top, splashed on this mock draft page. So are they going to start working this into the mix? If we're talking, they got the uniforms fixed.
Yep.
Now they're going to use them as much as they can, as much as the league will allow them. Is the logo next? And you know how I feel. I think we are headed toward that 70th anniversary spear on the helmet, which, by the way, sign me all the way up. I think that would be awesome.
Agreed.
Like, that would fix most of my issues. If you're still named Commanders, whatever, I'm not thrilled, but it is what it is. If you look like my team and you're wearing a helmet that my team wore at some point, and no one can yell at you and tell you that you're terrible because you've come up with this, wild
this workaround,
workaround thing, and you paid millions of dollars for people to say, if you do this over 2 years, and you have this day where you celebrate this, and this day where you celebrate this, then we're on our way. It's going to take a long way to go. We're taking the circuitous route. But if we end up with spears on the helmets and dark burgundy jerseys and the real colors, I can get down with that.
Yeah, they're actually Greek hoplite references where the citizen, were armored and they use those kinds of spears. Look it up. It has nothing to do with Native Americans. And there's your workaround, whatever. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't fix everything for me. Obviously, I hate the name so much. But everything besides that, again, you are doing what you can. We are stuck with that. I've come to grips with that. I understand it. But moving on from that stupid clip art W, whatever the thing is that like it looks like a toddler made, the taco holder, I think that's a good step. And finding the way to incorporate this newer looking thing, whether you like this
the taco holder
or
is
not.
Still there. Yeah. It's in the middle of the stadium, in between the diagonal, spears.
But limiting that instead of that being the only thing on the helmet,
very limited.
Yeah, very extremely limited.
So if this was on the helmet, would you like that better?
I'd like it more.
Really?
I'd like it a lot more. Yeah, anything to minimize the thing that I'm left with and can't
Would
avoid
you
anymore.
want the 2 stars on the outside?
On a helmet, that might look weird.
I think so,
2
too.
stars, yeah.
I mean, you got the Steelers do the diamonds. And also, I don't want anything that looks like a Cowboys star on a helmet.
Yeah.
So I would do without the DC stars. I'm guessing that's what that's for. But the spears and the little stadium and the W, I actually think I would much prefer that to just the block W.
Yeah, like if that W just went away and it was a couple monuments in there or something.
Yeah, it's not happening.
I know.
What about you guys? Darius, this logo, instead of, and let's post a picture from the 1067 The Fan account when we can, so people who haven't seen it can maybe just take a clip and show what they've posted here. But that versus the traditional now block W, which do you like better on a helmet?
I do like the added spear. I like that. This goes back to what Josh Harris was preaching when he talked with John Orand earlier this year about going into this particular theme, and I think it works. I think it absolutely fits.
Actually, grab that audio if you can.
Sure, yeah.
Because this is something, he just hit on something that's important. If you remember, I went to a game, and I was sitting there pregame watching the screen, and I'm like, wait, what? And it was like all done like the 300. It was like Frankie Louvu running through columns and like slamming a spear down. He's like, "Commanders, what is your profession?" And I was like, hoo. We're doing the 300 bit. And King Leonidas is there for some reason, and Lord Xerxes, played by Robert Saleh, is on the other side telling him his arrows will blot out the sun. But I come back and I'm kind of explaining this. And then we stumble across this audio that was a few weeks old. And that's when we kind of piece this all together in real time on the show. We're like, wait a second. This is all a work they're doing right now to kind of get back to some semblance of a spear. And good on them. Like, let's rock and roll. Somebody's thinking and playing the long game here. We'll play that audio for you in a second. But they have rolled this out little by little. Like, they are, this is, it reminds me a little bit, like you and I are both watching this documentary on Netflix right now of WWE, Untold or whatever it's
Unreal,
called.
whatever, yeah.
And this idea is they are 7 steps ahead. Like, they're having meetings right now in WWE about who's feuding with who and what the match is going to be at the event in May.
Yeah, we're setting this up for SummerSlam.
To me, that's what the Commanders are doing with this whole spear bit, with this whole story arc. Is like, okay, September of this year is this, October is this, next year we're going to roll this out. And by the end of next year, now the logo will be this. And then in 2027, we're in the burgundy and gold jerseys that we should be in. And we got a spear on the helmet like the 1970 or the 70-year anniversary 2002 Steve Spurrier team. This was Harris with Oren, an interview. At the time, I think he was with Puck talking to the owner of the Commanders.
Yeah, so the Commanders, we're embracing the Commanders name. And it turns out that we did the 250th anniversary of the Navy, and so we relaunched our branding campaign at that game, and it's Commander as a leader of warriors, and we start with the Romans, and then we go to the Native American tribes, and then we go to the Special Forces, and they all have these swords, which is like the tip of the spear, right? Spears. And so and Darryl Green came down with a spear and slammed it during the third quarter. And so, and so we think, being in Washington, embracing the people in the service community. Turns out that and the Commander now is a name. We tag certain players on our team. The football ops really likes it. They tag people with these yellow tags, and they say, that's a Commander and that's Commander. And when we draft, if you get the Commander moniker, that means you have an extra special group of traits. You love football. You're smart about it. You want to play. You're there for your teammates.
That was Josh Harris this fall about some of the things they'd started to roll out in this regard. Toby, you like the new logo more than the Block W they've been rolling with, or is it too busy?
Too much going on for a helmet. I do like the logo. I think it looked great on sweatshirts, shirts, different things, but too much going on a helmet.
I think that's a good take. That is my number one concern, Danny. There's pieces there. You got the 2 spears. You got the stadium itself. I'm calling it a stadium, but it's like
A cylinder. I don't know what you call that.
There's a word that I can't think of where the gladiators would be.
An arena?
An arena. That's kind of what it looks like to me. It's like an above shot of an arena. But so there's an arena, there's spears, then you've got the W. Normally, simple is better. Like, clean is better on a helmet. I said, I didn't want them to be called the monuments or something, but it would kind of be cool one time if they just wore a helmet with like the Washington Monument on the side, but like something very clean and basic and simple. So it might be a little busy for a helmet, Tobes. I think you're probably right, but I would rock that on a hoodie for sure. And it pummels the W. The W to me, I don't know if it's I'm a DC, like I claim DC. Where are you from? DC. I'm actually Virginia. It's not a DC versus Virginia versus Maryland thing, but the W for Washington I just thought it's clip art that could have taken 6 minutes.
Yep.